deep under the rugged peaks of the Greater Caucasus Mountains, in a location that was so isolated that its cave systems remained undiscovered. A normal geological study that used quantum resonance imaging stumbled onto an oddity. This was not only a hole, but rather a chamber that was protected by a thick mineral layer that had not been seen before,
which deflected ordinary sensors.
Aethelgar was the name that the archaeologists gave to the discovery once they were eventually successful in breaking into the chamber while they were spelunking. This wasn't simply a massive deal. A portion of the skeleton was partly encased in crystalline calcite, in a manner that was reminiscent of a biomechanical exoskeleton. It intermittently flashed with a leftover energy signature that could only be detected by neutrino scanners. The skeleton and its metallic integument absorbed ambient cosmic rays, which resulted in the formation of a localized cold spot. The mineral deposits were etched with bioluminescent fungus that were bright and luminescent, and they formed exquisite sceneries and patterns. The examination of protein residues, on the other hand, indicated that chiral amino acids are identical to all known forms of life on Earth. The astrobiologist who was there at the time, Professor Eris Thorne, murmured, "It's not just one enormous thing, inverted to be precise. In terms of biochemistry, it should not be present here." Aethelgar's mind may have been partly uploaded or scattered following his death, which was caused by catastrophic destruction to the core network node, which is positioned where the heart would be. This was suggested by the presence of quantum-entangled particles inside the alloy, which indicated the possibility of this happening. It is suggested by the theory that the Titans did not go extinct but rather withdrew, in order to protect themselves and their most important information from an unforeseen catastrophe, which may have been an internal struggle, an external danger, the finding shatters paradigms, or a planned ascension to a non-corporeal state. They hid their most important information, and perhaps even themselves, into protected planetary vaults. Not only was the Caucasus Chamber not a tomb, but it was also an unintentional time capsule. It was a solitary Titan that had been caught in a localized calamity during the retreat, and its vault had been broken and buried, just tolerated by godlike guardians who had been there for a very long time and may yet be sleeping under our feet, deciphering the glowing fungus maps, evaluating the inverted radiation field, and discussing the unthinkable. Do we dare attempt to rouse the sleeping giant's technology? These are the tasks that teams of the world's best minds are working on in shifts. It is not merely a relic. Skeleton of Aethelgar is a key to unlocking the door. A key that unlocks a future that we are completely unprepared to access, as well as a history that rewrites our background. It turned out to be mathematical rather than random noise after it was decoded. A series of prime numbers, spirals of the Fibonacci sequence, and what looked to be coordinates followed one another. With the knowledge that some doors, once opened, can never be shut again, the whole world holds its breath as it waits for the next discovery to emerge from the vastness of the universe. Additionally, information is being transmitted in a language that has been around for tens of thousands of years before the beginning of human civilization. The pattern of damage indicates that the culprit was an energy weapon of unfathomable strength. There is no development in this. Either it is proof of a parallel biogenesis on Earth that we have never conceived of, or it is evidence that it is alien. Aethelgar was the one who was responsible for unlocking them. At the same time that they did so, the ribcage of the skeleton expanded, as if it were drawing a breath after having been asleep for millennia. The walls of the cave began to shake, and the bioluminescent mushrooms began to come to life, displaying a holographic star map that also contained Earth, but not in the way that we are familiar with it. However, when quantum resonance scanners discovered a recurrent pulsed frequency emerging from the metallic threads that were woven into the bones, the reality became indisputable. Aethelgar was still operating in some capacity. Instructional manuals or historical documents were the items in question. What Aethelgar referred to as the Titans of Terra were not legendary creatures, but rather ancient guardians or engineers who were responsible for terraforming. Currently, it is a dormant system that is awaiting a trigger. The negative radiation is a signal of a technology that is meant to capture cosmic energy for huge, undiscovered purposes. These objectives might include the management of climate on a planetary scale, communication across dimensions, or the powering of other secret vaults. It is possible that activating it will bring about either redemption or the end of the world. And they came on the Earth or developed long before modern humans, and they participated in the formation of the early biosphere. The technology that they used was bioorganic and blended in well with the surrounding environment. They had interactions with early hominids, which sped up the development of their cognitive abilities. Rather than depicting primitive hunts, they showed intricate celestial charts that showed star groupings that are not recognized by current astronomy. Additionally, they showed stylized characters who resembled Aethelgar conversing with smaller humanoids. However, it was not delivered with fanfare, but rather with hushed dread. These individuals were not shown as gods or as predators. Rather, they were depicted as instructors or engineers who manipulated the flow of light in Earth. This was accomplished rather than by generating radiation. The team's nuclear physicist, Dr. Kenji Tanaka, was completely taken aback by the discovery, saying, "It defies thermodynamics. It is not a shielding mechanism. Rather, it is a passive energy consumer." Both alarming and revolutionary are the consequences for the creation of electricity, as well as for the operation of biological systems. Dr. Alara Vance, who is in charge of materials science, made the following statement: "It has grown with the bone, not attached, as if neural lace were formed of solid material. Technologies integrated at a cellular level that humans are unable to comprehend. And it was maintained with an uncanny precision that caused the air to vibrate with amazement." The skeleton measured 18 feet 7 inches. Even though they were denser than titanium-reinforced concrete, the bones had unmistakable mammalian characteristics, making them far larger than any known hominid. In addition to having thick, reinforced orbital ridges and a jaw that was capable of breaking stone, the skull alone was about 3.5 feet in length and included a large cranial vault, which indicated that the entity had an enormous capacity for brain activity. Based on the preliminary dating, Aethelgar was estimated to be an astounding 25,000 years old. This is a period of time when Homo sapiens were still nomadic hunters and gatherers. The discovery of the skeleton, however, was just the beginning of the mystery: the metallic embrace. The ribcage was surrounded by interwoven filaments of an unidentified, non-corrosive alloy, and these filaments were attached to the vertebrae around the animal. As a result of the radiation anomaly, the background radiation in the chamber was reversed in a negative direction. The cave canvas. The walls of the room were not made of nothing. According to the genetic ghost, it was unable to extract DNA, since the structure was too foreign and too damaged. What is the unsettling truth, and what is the baffling breakthrough? After weeks of frenzied investigation, a horrifying theory was given during a briefing held by the United Nations Science Directorate in private. It's true that Aethelgar didn't die naturally because he was on Talon. Rather than just serving as support, the metallic filaments were really a component of a distributed neural network. It is the teacher's hypothesis. The murals in the cave were not an act of devotion concerning the vault and the vanishing. Why is there no further evidence? Unlike passive decay, the remaining energy absorption is not a result of passive decay itself. Not only are scientists perplexed, but they are also afraid and excited by the situation. Life may exist in forms and scales that were previously thought to be inconceivable, according to biology. With regard to history, the prehistory of humans is but a footnote in a far more ancient, larger, and more mysterious planetary tale. The technology that existed millennia ago was biointegrated in planet scale, and it was superior to our own in terms of both elegance and power. Where we are, have we been cultivated? Is it arranged? The cave is now being quarantined at the highest possible degree of global security, which has been given the name Site Prometheus. As the researchers continued their investigation into the riddles surrounding Aethelgar, they came upon something approximately 65,000 years ago. The map depicted our world with diverse landmasses grouped in different ways. And there, floating in space, were 3 enormous objects that seemed to be rings with a sleek and organic appearance. A hushed voice from Dr. Vance muttered, "They weren't just here. Something was formed by them." In addition, we have recently restarted the power supply. This particular skeleton, in contrast to the earlier one, was fractured, with its metallic filaments being burned and broken. And further giant, this one purposefully buried under Aethelgar. was discovered before the crew had the opportunity to come to terms with the consequences of the first finding. There was a single sign that was etched into the rock underneath it, and it was repeated in a frantic scrawl. It is a warning to everyone, an inscription that was left behind by the very last of its type. When Dr. Tanaka came to the realization, they didn't just leave. It was a race between them, by means of anything that discovered them. These vibrations were not caused by tectonic changes, but rather by something intended. This was a really sharp one, feeling hungry, not human. In the depths of the Caucasus, the Pacific, the Sahara, and Antarctica, machines that were far older than the history that was documented were rumbling, and helpless in the face of what could yet be about to happen. Seismic sensors all throughout the globe recorded underground tremors within a few hours after the experiment. Later on, the signal underwent a modification. A whole new frequency arose, one that was not identical to the one that Aethelgar had first transmitted. A sleek, obsidian black building that was exactly hexagonal and generating the same inverted radiation signature as the Caucasus cave had been discovered by the ice-penetrating drones. It was buried under the frozen wastes. Fortunately, the drill crews did not discover any ice when they broke through. It was a hollow room that they discovered, along with another giant. The phone call had been answered by something. Governments made frantic efforts to keep the news under wraps, but it was already too late. The world was now confronted with an unavoidable decision, and it was completely coated in a gel-like material. It was translucent and had not frozen even in the sub-zero depths. Golden threads made up its metallic structure, and they pulsed in a feeble manner in time with the signal coming from Aethelgar. Most unsettling of all was the fact that its chest cavity remained unharmed. At the location where Aethelgar's heart node had been broken, this one continued to glow, emitting a steady, repetitive pulse similar to that of a dormant reactor. In the constellation Orion, there is a speck of gold that is beating in perfect sync with the pulse of the Antarctic giant. We did not attempt to rouse them. We simply informed them of our current location. 1952 was the year when the location was bombed. Delve deeper, unlocking the technology of the Titans, and run the danger of waking whatever it was that was hunting them. There was evidence in the files that this was not the first finding. After it was discovered that an unidentified submerged object was entering the system, the data was eradicated. As soon as the systems were restarted, the drones disappeared. The one and only signal that was retrieved was a last video feed that was heavily distorted and showed the gel withdrawing into the body of the monster. While its eyelids flickered, destroy the location, so burying the facts till the end of time, but keeping mankind in the dark about its real history. Together with the whole research team, it vanished without a trace. One thing became horrifyingly evident as arguments raged in private sessions, and that was the following. During the time when the giant's fingers were twitching and its head was tilting slightly, as if it were listening to a voice that only it could hear, the squad scrambled back, ecologists, that the Titans were annihilated for a specific cause, and that reawakening them would be a criminal act. Upon being translated via the use of harmonic resonance, it generated a single statement that was chilling. Golden threads erupted into flames, saying that it is humanity's last hope to escape the coming storm that is hinted to in the cave paintings may be referred to as the Prometheans. Their objective is unknown. On no occasion was Aethelgar a dead body. It served as a sentinel. At the moment when the first photographs from Antarctica were uploaded to secure channels, the whole globe held its breath. This one was not like the others. As the golden star in Orion continues to beat at a quicker rate, there is only one question that remains. The specimen from Antarctica was far bigger. Measuring up to 25 feet in height, this was Dr. Vance's voice, barely audible across the communication system. It's not dead. It is in a state of stagnation. The gel then began to move. As a response to the presence of the researchers, the material experienced a ripple effect. Each and every piece of electrical equipment within a radius of 10 miles suddenly stopped functioning. It was dark in Antarctica for a period of 3 hours. There was another item that astronomers saw at the same time, and that was a new star in the sky. A light at a place where there should be none, not a star. It's a beacon, Dr. Tanaka came to the realization. During the time when global leaders were in a state of fear, a classified dossier known as Project Cronus which was an inquiry into mythological giants and anomalous skeletal remains during the Cold War, was made public. The skeleton, which was 15 feet long and found near Yor in 1947, had melted into glass as if it had been subjected to intense heat. In 1962, Soviet scientists in Siberia discovered a frozen angel with wings made of metal they had salvaged. 2004, the Atlantic Trench, an undersea structure that is the size of a city that was discovered via sonar. The trend was obvious. Those responsible for concealing the Titans had been doing so for decades. As a result, divisions emerged. Scientists and military commanders who are seeking to harness the technology of the Titans. It is the belief of the Atrahasis Group, which is a partnership of historians. A mysterious third party that is already inside the vaults and is influencing events is referred to as the Silent Ones. Words that come first: it was then when the unthinkable occurred. The Antarctic giant's lips parted while they were in a safe laboratory. The sound that it produced was not speech. Rather, it was infrasound that began to vibrate through the bones of the researchers. There is a coming of them. Instantaneously, each and every Titan site on Earth became operational at the same time. An opening was discovered in the Sahara Cavern, which revealed a tunnel that descended into the molten depths. A doorway that was covered in the same warning sign was revealed when the Yonaguni construction climbed to a height of 200 feet. In spite of the fact that the Caucasus Cave collapsed and buried Aethelgar, the skull of the creature sent one more signal into space before then. Our choice is no longer available to us. They have awoken the Titans. Their warning is unmistakable. What were they trying to escape from? When will they arrive? And how long will it be?